Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 14 in our Let's Play series of Industry Manager Future Technologies. If you remember from episode 13, we had just decided to get into the car business, and we're going to begin by making family cars. You can see here on the screen your production tree. Plastics we're already making, rubber we're already making, chemicals we're already making, and we had gotten into the point of just producing our steel alloy as we ended the video. In fact, here's our steel alloy being produced, and we had set up all of our necessary components and raw materials to take care of that. With that in mind, that leads us to the next step, which is making the glass for the car. For that, we need silica and graphite, both of which we're already mining. Not sure if we have quite enough, but we'll find out soon enough. So let's go ahead and do that. We need a glass company, and we'll get started in that direction. However, a couple of things we want to look at from the previous videos. We go ahead and start the time. If you remember, we had either some sort of bug or an undocumented news story that didn't show up for us that is tanking our profit. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Several items we have are just not selling at all. So we're going to see if that corrects itself. Again, if it was a news item that simply didn't get documented for us, or if it's a bug or whatever. If that continues on for very long, then I'll have to shut down those that production for those and try to save the money we have. But as you can see right now, we're not necessarily hurting for money, so I'm not terribly worried about it for the time being. All right, before we get into production, let's go ahead and jump back into research. And we've already got everything researched that we need for right now. But since our research department needs something to do, let's go ahead and start up their queue and let them get started on what we can anyway. Let's go ahead and queue that. And then finally, our luxury equipment. Can we queue that? No, we cannot. Not quite yet, but we've got 5 things for them to work on, all within the vehicle research. All right, so now let's get back to building. If you remember, we needed a glass factory. So let's go ahead to our building shop and let's see if we can find the glass factory. Somewhere in here, where are we going? Glass factory, about 1.5 million. And I am going to, once again, try to put this in. We're going to try to save as much room as I can, despite my terrible efforts for this last building here, the warehouse. All right, so we need a glass company. And what do we need it for? Car glass. We're going to need silica and graphite, which, as I mentioned before, we're already making. So let's go ahead and speed up time a little bit, get that built. So right now we're amassing all of the raw materials that we're ultimately going to use to build our first family car. So we've got bank problems, no new loans. That's not a problem for us. We're not using loans. So let's go ahead and slow down time a little bit here. And so what do we need from our glass company here? Okay, we need to upgrade our workforce. Again, not that we're necessarily going to need it, but we might need it in the future. And I'm going to go ahead and take care of it now just in case. So what we need is the very first item, the car glass. So we're going to select that. We've got our 2 raw materials and how much of each we need. All right, so that's taken care of. We're going to max out our quality. And we're going to max out production and see what that is. 472 per day. That seems like a lot. But at this point, I don't know how many of those are needed for each car. So who knows? It may not be that much. All right, so you see the cost going into each one, not really a huge issue, but we need to supply some raw materials. We'll start here, and the raw materials we need here are silica and graphite, both of which I believe are in warehouse number 2 for us. Okay, there's silica. We'll take care of adding that. And also I believe graphite is in that one as well, and it is. Okay, so there's our 2 items for raw materials. Now we'll add our final product, which is going into our newest warehouse, number 4, and that'll be the glass. So let's come back up before we exit, take a look in here, and you can see we need about 58 here and 15 here, and we've got plenty of those. So I don't see us running out anytime soon, but we'll keep an eye on it as things move forward. Are we producing? Absolutely we are. Go ahead and speed up time a little bit here. Partly because I want to see how this profit number responds as we move forward. All right, and you can see in our warehouse, we've got car glass coming in. So things are going. And All right, so we're on track now. That takes care of car glass. Let's come back into our production tree. We're done there. Car glass is ready to go. Now we're ready for synthetic textiles, which is in a textile factory. And I think we've unlocked that as well as the others, but we'll see soon enough, I suppose. For that, we need cotton, wool, polymer, and chemicals. Well, polymer and chemicals we're already making, but cotton and wool we are not. So we're going to want to set up some farms. It looks like a farm and an animal ranch to take care of those. And with that in mind, I think I'm at a point where let's go ahead and look for a new land for our animal ranches and stuff. So we've got good soil and water levels here. We've also got some good silica, not much gold, plenty of graphite. So we've got and a lot of copper there. So let's go ahead and purchase this land. And this is where we're going to put our building. So we've got plenty and a little bit of oil here in case we need it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We need a farm, and which is huge. This is going to take up most of our room here, it feels like. All right, we'll go ahead and build that there. And we need an animal ranch. So our animal ranch is here. Neither one of these are terribly expensive. We've got just enough room to fit both of these at the top. Okay, so we've got our farm in place. Let's go ahead and upgrade our workforce. And processed food, I don't think we're going to need that. We'll see. Okay, so what do we want to make here? From our farm, we need cotton. So where is our cotton? Right there it is. Production cost very small there. And we're going to do the same thing here with our quality. Max that out, which is only at 20. You can get up to 100. Ours is only at 20 right now because we've not researched increases in quality. So 1164 per day. Again, we're not sure if that's a lot or very little because, quite frankly, we don't have any way of knowing just yet how much of any of this is going to be required to make our cars. So we're going to go ahead and send our final product to warehouse 4. And we don't have, fortunately, if we come back to our information screen, we don't need any resources in order to produce the cotton. So we're in good shape there. All right, so with that in mind, let's come back down and see that, yes, cotton is now being delivered to our warehouse. So we're up and going there. Let's come back up to take care of our animal ranch, upgrade our workforce. It gives us a max of 25 workers there. And we'll come in and, so what do we need here? Okay, from this we need, let's see what we've got here. Purchase fire, now we're not going to mess with that. All right, so we need wool. So lucky for us, it is the first product available. Again, production costs are very low, so there's no real reason to research lowering those for a product like this. Other products, it's definitely advantageous to reduce your cost, but not for this one in particular. So we can make about 1,077 of them per day. We do not need any additional resources, which is always nice. And we're going to send this to our new warehouse 4, and we'll have wool there. Okay, so now, if we come back in, synthetic textures in a textile factory, we have all 4 components. These 2 we just set up. The other 2 we're already making. So now we need a textile factory to make synthetic textiles. Okay, so let's see our textile factory. I don't remember using it before. I'm sure we have at some point, but I just can't remember it. So we're going to fit this in as nice and neat as we possibly can here. Okay, that's pretty good. And we're going to go right over the railroad tracks or under, I'm not sure. But either way, we're getting into the road. And if you'll notice, our loss here is down to 67,000. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but we'll take a look at that in a few moments. But for right now, we're trying to work our way through some of this production. Okay, so our textile factory is up and working. We're going to max out our workforce. Again, this isn't something you necessarily have to do. I'm only doing it for the purposes of this video to show you exactly what max production is at each one of these facilities. All right, so synthetic textures is what we want to make. And plant textiles, animal, mineral, and synthetic textures right there. Okay, we're missing an upgrade. No problem. We'll head back in here. Synthetic line. We'll get that upgrade for 180,000. Okay, so we'll come back over to synthetic textures. Again, production costs are very low. We see our 4 raw materials and how much of each we're going to need. Let's max out our quality. And so far, so good. Max out our quantity. See how many we can make. 2,000 per day. Again, pretty low cost here. We could lower these even more by reducing the quality, but at this particular point in time, I don't see the need. All right, so our required resources right now are all in red. Let's go ahead and set up these transportation routes. And so where do we need? We need cotton. Cotton is coming from warehouse number 4. Okay, that takes care of that. What else do we need? We need wool. Wool is also coming from warehouse 4. Polymer is the next thing on our list, and I believe it's coming from the first warehouse. And where is the polymer? Oh, and we've got another industry report. So we've got an outbreak of fungus, so that's going to be affecting our farms. That's no problem. We'll work through that. And they never last all that long, so I'm not terribly worried about it. And then chemicals, which I also believe is coming from our first warehouse. And sure enough, there it is. Let's see. Oh, that's the petrochemicals. Okay. So now I believe we have everything set up. And I always like to come back to our product screen and make sure. So you see we need 49 per day. We got plenty. 16 per day, plenty, and so forth. So I believe we're ready to go. Synthetic textiles. With that in mind, let's come back to production line. Yes, we've got that taken care of. Now, just to be sure that everything is ready to go, I want to come back in here and make sure that we're getting those. I actually don't see those. So that means I forgot something. And I believe I know what it was. Yeah, there you go. If you'll notice, I have all 4 of my initial products or resources in here, but I forgot to add one for our final product, which we're going to send to warehouse 4. And there it is. So now we can see production is underway, and they're currently storing it there at the factory. Now we'll come back over, and sure enough, it's all been delivered to the warehouse. These warehouses fill up quickly, so it won't be too much longer. We'll have to make yet another one. All right, so up next, if we come back in, and car glass taken care of, synthetic textiles taken care of, now we're ready for plant textiles. What do we need for that? Well, we're going to need 2 more farms and inorganic chemicals, which we already are making. So we're going to need some hemp. Now, everybody calm down. It's not that type of game. So we're going to be using hemp for different purposes here. In this case, we're going to be making cloth, it looks like, out of it. So hemp and flax, which we're going to need from farms. So we're going to need to build a couple more farms. All right, so back to our building shop, and we come back into our farm, and we're going to quickly run out of room in this particular area, but we're going to fit this in here as best we can. And it's 1 farm down, and then another one right next to it. And we'll let these take off, and you can see this number jumps pretty large, but that's only because it's figuring in the cost of the actual buildings that we are producing, and then it goes back down. We're almost back to break even. We're at 16.4 now in production. All right, so workforce, let's go ahead and upgrade that. Gives us a max of 35 workers. And processed food, again, I don't think we need that, but we'll find out shortly. Okay, what are our 2 items that we need here? We need hemp from this one. So we're going to produce hemp, again, very low production cost. Max out our quality. And max out our production. So we can make 1,034 per day. Do we want to hire the workers necessary? That'll cost us 25.8 thousand. Absolutely, we want to do that. And where do we want to send our transportation routes? We want to send it to number 4. All right, so we've got production going there. Simple enough. Okay, our other farm. What do we need here? Well, we need flax here. But first, let's upgrade our workers to get our 35 workers. And add our product, which is flax. Again, low production cost there. Upgrade our quality to the maximum. And finally, max production. Looks like 1,035 here. Okay, with that in mind, let's take care of our transportation route. We're going to warehouse number 4. with our flax. Okay, now let's take a look. Let's come back down to our warehouse and see that here's our flax. And what else was coming down here? Oh yeah, the hemp, which is right there. All right, so things are going good. Our final item is inorganic chemicals, which we're already making, and they're stored in another area. So if we come back into our production tree, you'll notice that we now have all three items under production, and plant textiles we're ready to make in a textile factory. Okay, come to our buildings. Textile factory, 2.5 million, and we're almost out of room, but we're going to be able to fit a few more buildings in here, hopefully, as long as they're not farms, that is. Okay, so we're taking care of that. So we'll be making plant textiles before you know it. All right, so again, the big jump there, and now we're back to making money. So here very shortly in the video, we'll be taking a look at what's happening there. Again, we're not making the 200,000 plus that we were making per day earlier, but at least we're back in the green. And we'll take a look at why that's happening a little bit later. Okay, but back to the task at hand. Synthetic, I don't think we're going to need that, but again, we'll find out shortly if we do. All right, so here we're going to want plant textiles. So the very first one, no need to change that around. And production costs are very low here. So we're going to make that, max out our quality, and max out our quantity of 4,000. So do we want to hire workers? It'll cost us 19.7 thousand, and we absolutely want to do that. Transportation route, we're going to warehouse number 4 with our plant textiles. Now that takes care of it. We're not worried about the progress report right now. We're keeping a track on that day by day. Okay, so now we need all our raw materials. First up is hemp, and easily enough, since we've just set these up, we know that they're in warehouse number 4. So there's our hemp and our flax, and then our other need is inorganic chemicals, and I believe that is in warehouse number 3, and sure enough it is. Now that symbol on there is enough to scare anybody. I mean, you get these natural fibers, and then you mix in some very dangerous chemicals. That's kind of scary to think of all that going into what makes a car. So we'll try to keep from thinking about that too much. So now that takes care of our plant textiles. So we'll be ready to make some wires and cables momentarily. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and check back with our warehouse and see that right now we don't have any plant textiles showing up. Oh, that's because we're paused. So if we'll let the time go on a little bit, we'll see if some of these start coming in. Let's see, an independent entrepreneur is looking to, okay, we're not even going to mess with that. I'm not sure if we're making those or not. Oh, here comes our plant textiles. So everything so far is coming in. We have production going on all of our new items that we've begun in today's video. Now, let's head back and see what we need for wires and cables. Now, we know that we're already making electronic components, so we won't need to make that. This will be the last component we'll need to make before we can start producing some cars. So what do we need here? We need copper, plastics, rubber, and inorganic chemicals. Well, we already have all of those. So we're already set. Electronics factory, here we come to make some wires and cables. So electronics factory, where is that located in here? I believe it's toward the end. Whoop, and we skipped right by it. There we go, electronics factory, 2.8 million. And we're going to drop this in right here if we can. And so we are definitely off and running here. This is excellent. While that's working, let's take a look at our research. We have no research ongoing. And so far we've got at least one in everything with our cars, except for luxury equipment. We'll go ahead and take care of that. Extended cargo as well. And anything else we need, workforce is maxed. Production quality. Okay, so I think everything is basically good there. Let's take a look under company research and see if there's anything I want to hit on here. Not really. I think everything is really good. Again, I'm staying away from advertising. I've heard there's some bugs. They may have been taken care of, but that's okay. Either way, I'm not terribly worried about that. Okay, so now we've got our building in place. So let's come in and see if we can get busy building some wires. So we upgraded our workforce. I don't believe we need battery or processors. Don't believe we need that. So here we go, wires and cables. What are these? So we've got nanotube wires. Wow, so there's a lot of things we can make in here. This is pretty interesting. So wires and cables. Again, production cost very low. And one thing I did see immediately on that screen, it's not going to show me just yet. Okay, let's go ahead and set up this, then I'll come back to that screen and show you what I was referring to. Max out our quality, and let's max out our production, 4,000 per day. And that's going to cost us 18.4 thousand. Okay, now let's come back in. 206 copper per day. I'm actually not sure how much copper we're making per day. So that's going to be interesting to see if we're going to have enough of that. All right, so wires and cables. Let's go ahead and set up our final product, and we're going to send it to warehouse number 4. Get that out of the way. Almost forgot that earlier. All right, so we're at New Year's. Looks like vehicle factory is the most lucrative. Okay, that's the same thing you told me last year, and we're working on it. So we'll get back to you on that one. All right, we'll start with copper, which I believe is in warehouse 3. And there it is. If anything, we may need to mine some more copper to take care of this demand. Next up is plastics, which I believe is in our first warehouse. There it is, plastics. Next up is rubber, which I believe is in the third one. Let's hope. Yeah, there it is. Rubber's in the third one. Then we need inorganic chemicals, which you could have already seen in the third one on that previous screen. So inorganic chemicals there. I believe that's all of our resources. Let's take a look. And it looks like we have a ton of copper right now, but that could just be because we weren't using very much of it at the time. We'll see how long that lasts. Everything else looks pretty good to me. Let's make sure that now everything is moving. We've got quantity here. And let's come back down to our warehouse and wires and cables. So sure enough, there we are. Now, folks, I believe we are all set. Wires and cables done. So electronic components we're already making. Oh, now we got a strike at our farm. So it looks like it's going to start now and go for about a week. Okay, so we're not going to worry too much about that. There's not really much that I know of we can do about it anyway. So I believe we are now in possession of all the components that we need to make our first family car. So now we're going to create a vehicle factory and let's get to it. So let's look out for vehicle factory. Let's see. I have no idea where this thing is in here. There we go. So 4.2 million. Oh, and this thing is huge. Do we have room anywhere for it? We may need to buy a new sector just to have room for this thing. And I don't believe we do, actually. That's odd. That should fit right in there somewhere. Oh, wow. So now our animal ranches are going down. So this is just, the game has decided to throw all sorts of stuff at us for now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw this down in here if I can get it to work. There we go. Not where I wanted to put it, but I didn't want to get into a different sector just for this just yet. Although, who knows, I might change my mind later on with that. Again, money situation, we're almost back to break even. We seem to be oscillating around that break even point. We'll take a look at that momentarily because we are almost ready to produce our very first cars, which will be our family cars. And we'll start there, and who knows where we'll go after that. We might produce some more cars. We might move into a different area. We'll see. I'm really interested to see how lucrative the car business is after they've told us on multiple occasions. So workforce, let's upgrade that for 200,000. Family cars, absolutely, let's do that upgrade. And let's see what we need here. So we got family cars and a whole bunch of different ones in here. These look pretty neat. Of course, who doesn't want to make supercars? I mean, that just sounds cool. So lots of different items we need to produce our family car. So let's get started. How many can we make per day? We can make not quite 7 per day. So 7 cars per day. All right, do we want to hire workers? Absolutely we do. And we've got a lot of stuff we need, so let's go ahead and add all these transportation routes. We're going to start with our family car. And now let's start with all the raw materials. So first and foremost, let's go get the plastics, which I believe is in the first warehouse. Okay. And now we're ready for the rubber, which I believe is in the third. Next are chemicals, which I believe are back to the first warehouse. Chemicals, there we go. Next up is the steel alloy, which is in the fourth warehouse. All right, number next, car glass, which is also, I believe, in our fourth one. Next up, you can see why, as I'm doing this, that they would discourage a new player in the game from going this route, because this is a lot to go and create early on in a game when you have limited funds. So I can understand why they would want you to stay away from this early in the game, for sure. I continue to think that for beginning a new game, I am a huge believer in the software, simply because you don't need tons of raw materials. You basically need people. And that way it just simplifies things for you, gets you some money under your belt, and gives you a method to, get your feet under you and see what it is you need before you start going into all this different production. All right, final is electronic components, which I believe is in number 3. Am I right? Yes, there they are. All right, so that's a lot of stuff to set up. Let's see if we got it all. So it looks like we're okay with our quantities on everything as far as I can tell here. All right, so it looks like everything should be going good. Let's close that screen. Come back in here. We're making 4 a day, which seems like a fairly small number for a fully staffed factory. All right, let's see. They're willing to pay. No, we're not messing with that. Again, just trying to stick to the core gameplay here and not go off on too many tangents. There's enough going on that I'm not trying to complicate things. All right, let's head back over and see if we've got any cars coming in. Absolutely, we have cars coming in. Let's go ahead and slow down time just a little bit to regular speed. And let's come back over to our city. And as you know, now that we have a new product that we're making, we need to open up a shop for it. And let's go ahead and take care of that. This will also give us the opportunity to see what's going on with our other products. So it looks like we can sell these for, by default, $19,000. I'll leave it there for a little while, and we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and, by the way, as I've mentioned in previous videos, if you are just starting out, I do not recommend opening up a shop in all of the cities on the map. In this case, we have 3 cities on the map. I don't recommend that simply because, in general, you won't have the ability to meet the demand of one city, much less all 3. So again, I'm doing some things in the video series here that I wouldn't normally do in an offline playthrough. And I'm doing it more just for to show you exactly what it looks like. Okay, so what are we getting here? So we're selling for $19,000, a nice markup there, not quite triple our cost. So it looks like we're not really, wow, a demand of 300. Well, that would be quite a profit if we could sell 300 of these a day. So it looks like, let's see, 58 the first day, that was selling everything that we had in stock that we through production. So now we're back to, if you remember, we're making, I believe, about 4 a day. So production, so we're making some nice money here, about 85 grand per day. That will come down as well because I believe that we're only making 4 of these. Let's head down here and take a quick glance and see if I'm right about that. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. We're making almost 7. Okay. So that 7 per day should stay about the same. All right, so with that in mind, of course, now that puts us easily back into the green. But if you remember from previous videos, we had that horrible drop in demand for these products. So let's take a look. If you remember, we were down in the single digits or low double digits. So 6 to 12 for the demand. Demand has come back. So now we're back to being able to sell some. So not near as many as we had before, I don't believe, but at least we're in the green here. Okay, we're not making that much money. But then if you'll remember, I also lowered the sales price on these quite a bit, and I intend to leave it there for now. The main thing is we're back in the green, even though we're not making a terrible amount of profit. So we're back to selling these. And okay, so we're good there. Yeah, we're back to selling all of these, it would appear. And so yeah, we're making a profit on these each day, and we're able to sell quite a few of them. So that's good. Again, profit is very low and something we can work on going forward. But for now, we're out of time in this particular video. So I really appreciate you coming along on the journey in episode 14 with me, as we were able to finish out the entire remainder of the production tree and begin producing our first family car. So that will conclude episode 14 of our Let's Play series, and stay tuned for more Industry Manager Future Technologies.